feeling that connection. People definitely in the Midtown Sac area, for our co-op in general, are just really connected. But I'd say all co-ops, people feel really invested, and as they should, right? Like I said, you have equity, you're invested in this business, you want it to stay and thrive and be there, right?
Greetings, neighbors. Welcome to another episode of the Perfect Sense podcast. Today, we are going to have a really insightful discussion about the power of local business and cooperatives. I am thrilled to be speaking with the CEO of Sacramento Food Co-op, Brian Munn. Brian, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. Before we jump in, would you mind just introducing yourself to our audience and letting them know a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm the president of the Sacramento Natural Foods Co-op. I'm happy to be here and discuss more about what we do at the co-op scene.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to have you here. One thing I'm curious about, Brian, maybe you could tell us a little bit about like your background, kind of how you ended up at the co-op. What is your experience? Where do you come from?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, my background is natural foods, grocery, for the majority of my career, food in general. Early on, I've been in grocery my whole life. My dad was a journeyman butcher for Raley's and other local independents in the area. So I grew up kind of in the butcher block and on the back on pallets of Gatorade or whatever. So I've just been in and out of grocery forever. And, so I've been in it for a long time and found myself just always getting sucked back to it. But I started in natural foods back when Whole Foods was Whole Foods and learned a lot from them back then. And then they got acquired by Amazon. I left. And I ended up going to culinary school in San Francisco and was classically trained and worked around the Bay Area, Livermore, helped open a restaurant in San Jose, did my own business. I had a catering company in Santa Cruz where we focus on hyper-local products and work with ranchers and local farms in the area. And that was really fun. That spoke to my core. But it was also really hard and crazy. And I had kids, so I couldn't keep working super late nights. So I went back into grocery. I worked for a community-owned business there called New Leaf Community Markets. And I guess this will tie into where I'm at the co-op now and why. But back when I was at New Leaf, we were community-owned. I used to play softball with one of the owners, Rex. The other owner used to come into my store in Capitola, and then they sold, and I went through that change with that acquisition, being a part of that and seeing that change a little bit. Again, you get to really walk the talk. Like it's going to stay that. And that's what I love a lot about where I'm at. So a lot of time throughout, natural foods and the industry there as a whole and food access and working with farmers and things like that. And now at, being at the co-op for the last 5 years, I've really learned a lot about co-op model, which, I didn't really know a lot about before. And I just kind of got lucky that I stumbled into it, I guess.
As a financial cooperative, we love seeing the power of business cooperatives, businesses that operate as a cooperative out in our community. And so as far as I understand, the Sacramento Natural Foods Co-op and Safe Credit Union have a business banking relationship. Can you talk a little bit about like maybe what value you get out of that relationship?
Yeah. Safe is a partner of ours as another cooperative. It's, part of our core, part of our principles that we work with other cooperatives. We'll talk about it probably later, but it's principle 6 of ours. And that's, cooperation amongst cooperatives. So it's a kind of a core value of ours that we be doing business together. We feel it's, the right economic model for our communities. And, happy to keep that relationship going.
Yeah, we're so grateful for the fact that we do business banking services, but I also feel like we attract businesses that do good for the community. Now, admittedly, I'm a Placer County kid, so I was born in Sacramento, raised in Placer County. I am aware of the co-op, and I've been in there a couple times. I know my older brother who lives kind of on that side of town. He's definitely been in more than a handful of times. Can you tell me a little bit more about the Sacramento Natural Foods Co-op and why it's such a fixture in our region?
Yes. Well, the co-op has been there. Sac Co-op has been there for more than 50 years. We've been operating in the Midtown area. About 10 years ago, moved to where our current location is right now. Co-op in general just is it's community owned. It's for us, our co-op. We're not member only. So if I'm not a member, you're just a community member and you want to come shop there, you can. It's not like a Costco or anything like that. But yeah, what's great about co-ops, what I love is, again, going back to the economic model of the fact that you're owning a piece of that establishment, and the community here has owned a piece of it, like I said, for over 50 years. And we, in my opinion, have the best products you can find, local products and others, in our co-op, and that's what we do. Our job is to create that access to great products and help the local economy.
Yeah, for sure. And Sacramento really sort of has this reputation, this tagline of like America's farm to fork capital. Would you say that places like the co-op really sort of like illustrate that and demonstrate what that means for folks?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's another nonprofit called Slow Food, the Slow Food Movement. I don't know if you've heard of it. We just had the Terra Madre event this last year, which was really cool at your downtown.
Oh, excellent. The Convention Center?
Convention Center.
Beautiful. Love it.
Which is really cool. It was
Nice.
one of my favorite conventions I've been to. I did a talk there. What we stand for is, what I would say a lot of people want to stand for, and we get to, being a co-op, it's not our first priority to have profits. Our priority is to bring access and bring good food to the community and allow others that are creating food and other makers that we can carry those products inside of our store. So we're kind of this hub for this movement in the area, and this collective group of people that want to have like good access to food and to local farmers and things like that. So I think it's really important that, co-ops in general thrive. And that, I'm a big advocate of that too. And not just our co-op, but the co-ops in the area. We have a lot of other sister co-ops in the area, Briar Patch, Placerville, and Chico, and things like that, Davis, and all doing a great job. So
Yeah, I really appreciate that perspective of kind of how you talk about the intersections between like you and other food cooperatives and just sort of this sense of community. Because as somebody who works in community relations, what I find is the longer I'm in this space, community is like more of a verb than anything. You have to actually be on the ground taking action and uplifting one another and empowering one another. And I think it's just so refreshing for folks to hear when there is sort of like this cooperation and collaborativeness amongst like you said, like just kind of the food system, but then also other things that are happening in the community.
Yeah, that's principal Sissy. You almost said it exactly, is cooperation amongst cooperatives. Yeah, so it's a big part of what we do.
Yeah, awesome. So for folks that are listening, they may be hearing this term cooperative and there's still a little bit of like uncertainty around what that actually means. Obviously, you're a small business. Can you tell us like what's actually different about the cooperative model and why it works so well for serving the community?
Yeah. I'm going to try and make sure I touch on all the important things. But I think, again, going back at its core, I would say the economic model of a co-op is so important for communities, especially right now, what's going on, right? It's in our bylaws. We can't be bought. We can't be sold, right? Unless the community decided it wanted to as a whole, which I just can't imagine that would happen, right? And that's the great thing about a co-op is we're like rooted in that community and we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Our profits that we do get in, because we are a for-profit, where I know Safe is a not-for-profit, I believe, which is really cool. It's a little different model, but at its core, it's all the same thing, right? So we are a for-profit, and corporation, and we have been that way in our bylaws for over 50 years. It's the way it was set up. It's a good model, though. The profits that do come in from what we make are very, very slim. Our margins are really, really tight, as all grocery is, but we're able to give that money back. When it comes in, it doesn't go off to some corporate office, right? It's right there in that store, in that community, and those profits go back out to membership. And then what doesn't, we keep in-house to then continue to grow our business and help the staff and invest more into our community, right?
Yeah, over the years, we've done a handful of small business spotlights, if you will, on the podcast platform. And we really always come back to this kind of idea of like keeping your dollars local, right? Whether it's like shopping at local businesses and then the local tax dollars come back to the community. It's so, I think, like, it's a message that people need to hear over and over again, because especially in this day and age of like internet and convenience and everything at the tap of your finger, like people have gotten accustomed to that. So it's very sometimes appealing to go towards like the bigger the bigger entities, because they have that sort of like convenience built in. But I think the people maybe lose sight of like how important it is just to like keep things local, right? Like reinvest in your community, because these are the folks that are your neighbors and are your friends and are your family. So
Yeah.
I love that you sort of, illustrate that.
Yeah, and also, this happening in all the communities, would be important, not just in Sacramento or Folsom where we're at, things like that. It's just, in general, the co-op model is going to help the community more just by definition, right? Like with SAFE in our partnership, or we partner with also SMUD, right? They're a co-op as well. I don't know if everybody knows that. Similar to you guys, I think they're a not-for-profit, and we work with them, and again, being more green and being in their programs so that we can kind of, we can utilize each other to kind of get those gains, those gains that we need, whether it be sustainable gains or economic gains, from you, like having our money with SAFE, we know that it's in there and that's impacting the community in a positive way, right?
Yeah.
Money's in there, being reinvested into the community, and we have that sitting with other co-ops rather than with a big bank.
Yeah, it seems like there's such a natural way for like businesses that are like really built on this doing good and serving a purpose for the community. They often seem to align themselves, because you mentioned SMUD, and like I have a lot of friends that work at SMUD. We just, always sort of find ourselves in that sort of alignment, walking side by each other. And I think it's just kind of an illustration of how, like-minded communities sort of find each other and then work to build each other up.
Yeah, it's important for sure.
Where would you say sort of the values of the Sacramento Natural Foods Co-op and Safe Credit Union align?
I mean, I think, again, the cooperative principle by design is aligned, right? There's not a whole lot difference. We're here for the community and the people. We have a job to do, and that's to serve the community, right? That's what we're hired to do, and that's what was built into the bylaws of our co-ops. Some of the things like I touched on, just principle 6, it being that we're here to serve our community. We're also here to serve the greater cooperative movement. And, SAFE being a nonprofit, us not, but we still have a lot of those similarities. We're here to service the community, right? We got to run a good business for the community, and that's what we do. I think that just, again, that economic model is really where we align really well, is that, money's flowing through, and we'd rather it be flowing through a co-op, because it's in turn going to help the community in better ways than, an independent. And I don't want to bash independents, in our sector, right? I know we have a lot that do a lot of great things for the community, but at the end of the day, independents can and will sell, and whereas we won't, no matter
Sure.
I'm here or the next CEO, and then on, it's going to keep, running based off what the community wants, right? And I think that's most important, is keep creating that access and keeping that access in the community, kind of helps slowly build those economic ties around those stores and around those banks and things.
Yeah. So perhaps you could educate me a little bit more, right? So as I understand, there are members of the co-op, right? There are folks who, do they pay for a membership? Is that how it works?
Yeah. So in our model, yes, you're a member, but you're a member owner. We kind of use that both.
Got it. Okay.
You pay in equity. So what that means is you come in, and you don't have to be in our stores, right?
Sure.
You can come in and shop no matter what. If you are a member, there's some more benefits economically. We have discounts and things like that. We have events for members, stuff like that. That's kind of fun to get you more engaged in the community.
Yeah.
But really what it's about is, when you're paying in, it's about being a part of that co-op now. And so it's democratically run. So you can run for the board, you can vote, and you get more discounts and things of that sort. You also have equity in the business. So everyone has, for us, it's a $300 full stop, right?
Yeah.
So once, let's say you come in and you want to be a member and you just pay the $300 up front, you're now a fully vested member. And
For life.
For life, as long as you want, right?
Okay.
That's equity. So you can pull that back out anytime. If you're leaving, you're not shopping there anymore, you're moving out of the community, you can pull that equity back out.
Nice. Okay.
So you're invested in the business, and like I said, there's other perks around it, but really at its core, it's about it being democratically run.
Okay. And so you alluded to something that was going to sort of be my follow-up question. So there is a board of directors. Is it a volunteer board of directors?
Correct.
Okay. Excellent. So that's another like sort of alignment.
There's stipend, there's a little bit of money involved, but yeah, that's part of like being a part of that community, being a part of that business. They do get a discount and other things, education and stuff like that we do. So it's really cool. But yeah, you're really there as a volunteer board member to help that co-op stay alive and thrive.
And I would imagine that at certain stages, like the members are called upon to vote on board positions.
Yeah, so we vote every year. There's always 3 seats up. That's happening soon. We post about it online and in the store, and we do a vote every year. We have a slate of candidates that get brought on by the board. Right now we have 5 candidates that are running, and we have 3 seats open. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
That's very, very enlightening for me because I feel like it's very much a blind spot. Because again, like I know of you, but it's so rare that I would like be in that part of town and be doing my grocery shopping there. So yeah, it's really informative.
That's kind of the bummer that we don't have. Like I get on that soapbox a lot of we need more of these co-op stores.
Yeah,
we need more of them because there's so much more access we could bring to this. Around this country, but this community in general, Sacramento. Again, it's just so much better for that community, I would say.
Yeah. One thing I'm kind of reflecting on is, SAFE has been a local institution for a really long time, trying to drive community impact through many different ways, right? Like education, even the fact that we have business banking and we support small businesses through those banking relationships. Obviously, the Sacramento Natural Foods Co-op also has a very like local mindset and mentality of supporting local. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah. And we, again, thank you to SAFE. We bank with SAFE, and it's been, an important relationship to us. When we say local, we really mean it. It's part of our core. It's part of our ends policy. It's something that I report on to the board, right? That we hit these metrics. And currently, we're growing our local footprint again. And we have deep ties and deep relationships to the local farmers, local ags in the area. And we've been supporting some of these farmers for many, many years. And again, like going back to the access part is like, that's what we're here to do, is be this kind of driving through pattern of you have the local businesses, local farmers that need a place to, showcase and sell their produce or whatever, right, through us. And we're able to market it and tell the story of that farmer, how long they've been in business, family owned, all this stuff, what they do with the soil, how important that is. And we're that hub, that people can have that access, and we're able to educate, in the store on those things of, this is, this, so I don't want to call out any farmer, but this is one, certain farmer we've been working with for 20 years or whatever it is. Right. And so we're just that access point, right? We're that through point where we bring that access to the folks of really only Sacramento right now, us, other co-ops in the area do that. But, creating that access is really important, and creating those relationships and keeping them strong.
So essentially, like what I hear you saying, right, is that it's really important for folks to understand sort of the local food ecosystem, right? Like everything is all sort of connected. And I think probably for the folks that shop at your store, that probably translates to them for like value and feeling like they're serving a purpose. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think that's super important that you touched on that. And it's a big highlight about what the co-op is and why people get involved. And I think why we get board of directors to participate as well is feeling that connection. People definitely in the Midtown Sac area, for our co-op in general, are just really connected. But I'd say all co-ops, people feel really invested, and as they should, right? Like I said, you have equity, you're invested in this business, you want it to stay and thrive and be there, right? And so that's that touch on, there's all these different components of a co-op, but, at its core, it's still a for-profit, but it's really there for the community, and making sure that those things are being highlighted, and the values. So, my ends policies, part of that, there's a lot of different things in there, but part of that is keeping that local economy running, and keeping that access. And that's what we do at Sac Co-op, really, is the big thing is creating the access to the local farmers, to the local community. I mean, we have makers, people making soap and lip balms and things like that too. So there's just a lot more going on than just produce, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And as, a financial wellness podcast, one thing that's really important for us is to make sure that our audience is getting, information that's relevant and timely. And one thing we can all acknowledge right at this point in time is that cost of living is only going up. We see it really across all sectors. No matter where we're spending our dollars, we find that we're spending more of them. So can you just speak a little bit to how like the Sacramento Natural Foods Co-op kind of supports and helps the community in terms of like food access?
Yeah, this is an important one because we do get highlighted as this really expensive place or this place that you can't go in there unless you're a member or owner, And we would like to break that down and say, we're not that. We're not like a Whole Foods who's trying to give you this. We're trying to give you elite products, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's different components to this. So this might take me a quick sec to answer. But one, I would say we have that perception because our price perception is a little higher. And that's because we carry local produce, local items from makers that pay their farmers correctly or do more for the community or pay their employees more. And by design, when you're a local small business, that it's a little more expensive to produce those products. We're not absorbing those, profits. We're moving those over to that local economy. So, like I said, we're creating that access. So on our shelf that's highlighted is going to be the local products, and they're more expensive by design, like I said. Whereas you walk into a place like Whole Foods, they're going to put the sale items right in front of you. And that, in their perception, Safeways and things like that, they've gotten really good at marketing that they're not that expensive. But if you go apples to apples on the products you're getting a way less valuable product, right? Where that money is not taken back to that local economy. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's taken out of the economy. It's taken out to investors or whatever, what have you, right? So that's really a big part, one, of what we do is we look like we're more expensive because a lot of our items are, though we do have value items. So going into that, we have our everyday low price items that we have on there. So you'll see those throughout our co-op that are a lot cheaper. And we really utilize relationship to get that money to pass along.
Yeah.
Where we talk to those people like Clover have been willing to work with us to bring down the price a little bit so we can move that along to our customer. We're not bringing down the price and strong arming them like other, competitors do so that they can get more profits on things and bring sale price down. We do that to move that to our community, right?
Yeah.
And then another big thing that we do is, and this one's just easy to point to, is we have our community discount program. And, aside from donating, right, to River City Food Bank and partnering with them on things and doing our roundup at the register, which is, you go and you buy your products and you can round up, your 30 cents that's left. And we build that up over a month and give it to a nonprofit organization around us in the area. But we do have our community discount program, which is 15% off for, people that are in the lower income community that, let's say they're on SNAP benefits, they can come in and be a part of that and participate and get 15% off all their products in the store.
Yeah, that's great. I'd love to hear it. And so as we sort of, come to the end of this conversation, are there any sort of final thoughts, reflections you'd like to share with our audience, especially if they've never stepped foot inside the Sacramento Foods Co-op?
I guess I would say come check us out because you can, right? You don't have to be a member. I'm not asking you to come and be a member. I really would love that. Participating is super important. Participate in your community. But really come in and check out, what we do and feel more a part of your community in that way. And you are, like, by design, you can really feel that. I mean, we have great employees in there that have been there a long time and really educated on the products we carry, educated on the farmers. Some of them know them directly, right? Things like that. So you can learn a lot in there, but you can really feel like when you walk in the store and you pick anything up, like, we have your best interests at heart, right?
Yeah.
And I think the connection, again, not only are we supporting those farmers, those community, but we support in partnership with SAFE, Credit Union. We support in partnership with SMUD and other co-ops and things like that, where, we're trying to stay connected with the community and grow in that way. So participating in your local co-op is going to help so many other entities as well, not just us per se.
Yeah, excellent. You heard it here first, folks. If you haven't been to the Sacramento Natural Foods Co-op, you've got a whole wealth of reasons why you should go check them out. Now, one thing we do with all of our interview guests is we put them through a lightning round. I'm going to ask you some questions. You ready for it?
Let's do it.
All right. So I understand that you're a classically trained chef. Tell me some of your favorite recipes to throw down in the kitchen.
Well, offline, we talked a little about this, just, throwing that out there, but I'm definitely become a one-hit wonder or one pot wonder with kids. So one of my favorite things to make is just like a basic chicken curry. And I love making rice. I love using sushi rice and throwing a little vinegar in there and making it a little bit sweet and a little bit sticky, and having that with a yummy little green curry chicken.
Yeah, I love that. The one pot wonder thing, as a working parent, you're like, yes, anything that saves me time in the kitchen and gives me more time with the kids is always a win.
Yep.
That's actually one thing I've sort of found myself doing, is trying to be more about how do I take something from the raw form into like then create something with it? And it's funny because I feel like it really sort of connects me. Food sort of connects all of us across time, where it's like we've just found new ways to sort of reinvent stuff over and over again.
Absolutely. Yeah, it connects you with the farmers, with the soil, with the earth, things like that. And yeah, and again, I mean, toot our own horn, toot toot, but we have those products there where you can feel connected and actually still there in the community, and learn about it. And one of the fun things you can do is come in and not have necessarily, your list, and just kind of go collect some items to make for the night, which is really fun too.
Yeah, excellent. And very much in the spirit of this episode, one of my favorite questions to ask is there any particular small business or restaurant that you're a huge fan of that you want to shout out on the podcast?
Oh man,
maybe a handful of them.
So many. Well, I think I'd say my favorite in Midtown is Hawks. I got to shout them out. They just do a great job all around, like service to food, to the quality of the food, things like that. Definitely one of the faves. Mulvaney's, of course. Again, Mulvaney's is like, they really, cook from the earth type of thing, right? Their stuff is really amazing.
Awesome. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you here, Brian. Thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. And maybe we'll be able to catch up again in the future. Appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you.
If you'd like to learn more about Safe products and services and how we can help you, visit our website at safecu.org and schedule an appointment with one of our professional experts today. Safe is federally insured by NCUA and is an equal housing opportunity lender. The purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform on topics surrounding financial well-being. This podcast does not constitute financial, tax, or legal advice and may not apply to your individual situation. You should consult with your own financial, tax, or legal advisor for specific information pertaining to your individual situation. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the participants expressing them and do not necessarily reflect those of Safe Credit Union or any of its officials.